Hey everyone, thanks for attending today's event, and we're going to be getting started here shortly. Just want to give a few minutes for everyone to hop on for the event in case there's any late stragglers. And I just want to make sure if you can type in the chat box that the audio is working correctly. So if you can please type in a response of yes and into the chat box so we know that you can hear us, that'd be great, and we'll get started here in a minute. All right, everyone, we're going to be getting started here in about 60 seconds, and I got one confirmation that the audio is working correctly from Mr. Brian. If anyone else can hear me, please type chat in the type yes in the chat box, and we'll get started here in about 60 seconds. All right, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Hope you guys are excited about some of the information that I'm glad to share with you. This is an event for Webinar Jam demo and review, and hopefully show you guys some pretty cool stuff that Webinar Jam can do, and how I think it is the better of the replacement for GoToWebinar. And because you guys are all awesome lead pages enterprise subscribers, I'm going to show you hopefully some cool integrations in lead pages, and hopefully even a couple of tips and tricks that you haven't seen or haven't used in your lead pages account. So I'm going to kind of keep this pretty much informal. I don't have like some PowerPoint deck or some fancy dancy slide thing to show you. Basically, it's just going to kind of be work mode where I'm going to show you a little bit of the back end of the Webinar Jam interface, kind of how to set some things up, how to maybe even do a little bit of customizations, and then of course we're going to hit on how to integrate it within lead pages so that when a person registers on a lead pages account, they can also become auto-registered And I'm in the office, home office, because of the holiday weekend. So this is my little daughter right here who's interrupting me, and she's going to go away and go find the white tablet. Mama will help. Okay, thank you. And hopefully, you guys, sorry about that. Again, real informal today. So hopefully we can get some clarity here on the vision. But let's go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and go into the Webinar Jam interface. And one of the, probably the only, if anything, is probably the biggest thing that I may not like with Webinar Jam is it's not even a Webinar Jam feature, it's just a Google Hangout feature. So I know YouTube has been working pretty fervently about trying to get the live stream delay down as fast as possible. So by the time you're hearing these words that I'm speaking right now, you probably aren't going to be hearing them on your computer for probably about anywhere from about 20 to 50 seconds, and it depends on the bandwidth of Google Hangouts. So that's not a limitation of Webinar Jam, it's just a current limitation of the ecosystem for the Google Hangouts. One of the things that I totally love about Webinar Jam is it is Google Hangouts, and this is being recorded as we go. So unlike GoToWebinar, you don't have to go through the process of encoding it and transcribing it and setting it all up. And of course, if you guys have ever used GoToWebinar before, you know that can be a very unreliable system. So let's go ahead, and can you guys all just make sure that you can see my screen? I would hate to spend a lot of time going through this presentation and you guys couldn't see anything. So if you can please type in the chat box with yes or the number 1 that you can see my screen, that would be great. And also, while we're doing this, if you could please type into the chat box any questions that you specifically have about Webinar Jam or lead pages or how to integrate them, so I can make sure to address those during the event. That would be great as well.
Turn it down a little bit. Vanessa, turn it down a little bit. Oh, sorry.
All right, awesome. Thanks, John. So you can see the screen, so let's go ahead and move forward. I hope you guys can all type in the chat box when you get that, because it helps to get more than one reply. Yep, thank you, Leanne. Appreciate that. So let's go ahead and move forward. So this is the interface when you log into Webinar Jam, and I'm actually going to go ahead and log out and log back in. So one of the things that I was really impressed, being a new Webinar Jam user, I had purchased a product from these guys, Mike Filsame and back when Evergreen Business Systems, purchased that Evergreen webinar software, and to be honest, I don't even think I ever used it or even implemented it. And so when this came out, but I'd kind of messed around and knew that it was a good software system. They'd been making a lot of updates to that software, even though I hadn't been using it. I'd just been kind of like watching what they were doing. And so when Webinar Jam came out and they launched it, I bought it right away because I just knew that their product support was fantastic. And so this is just kind of an intro video, and the thing that I really like about the system is I'm a big software user interface critic, meaning if stuff's hard to use or I have to take lots of time to figure stuff out, if it's not intuitive, I'll just get bored and frustrated and just move on to something else. And the thing that I enjoy about Webinar Jam is that it's really simple and really fast to set up, and it's really quick to be able to set things up. So here we are in the new webinar interface. The good news is once you've created a few webinars, everything's set up so that you can clone an existing webinar and edit it. So it's fantastic if you do a specific type of coaching or a specific type of service or a specific type of hangout. It's easy once you've set up your kind of template, if you will, to just duplicate it and then modify it based on what you need. And it's actually what I did for this webinar as well. So everything's set up in a very step-by-step basis, meaning that I'm going to go ahead and come in here a little bit, make the screen a little bit bigger, and everything's basically set up step by step, so you really kind of can't screw anything up here. So this is, again, just kind of how to get started on a video, and I'm just going to come in here, and the cool thing is they just launched all these new languages probably in the last month. So here's all the new languages, and they're asking for feedback. So if you speak Norwegian and you find some misspellings, they want to know about it. Give them that information. They'll update it. But basically, the system translates for all the landing pages, thank you pages, countdown pages, can all be set up in various languages. And so super simple here. Set up a webinar name for your reference. Set up a title for your webinar for 70 characters max, and then your webinar description. And then you can say, hey, I want to schedule this right now, and you can go ahead and jump on a webinar right away. I'll show you in our account where we just have an ongoing area where we can just create a live webinar chat right away, and then we can schedule it for later, okay? Now, another cool thing about the system is that you can add multiple sessions. So let's just say that we set up a webinar for tomorrow, and we're going to come here and we're going to schedule it for 6 o'clock. And we'll set it up on Eastern time because that kind of keeps things consistent. So that's basically the same time as today. And if you wanted to add another session, guess what? We can do that, and we'll just bump it up for a couple hours, and we'll select the same time zone. And guess what? We've got 2 sessions set up. This is your webinar admin area. So this is where you're going to put your admin name, your full name, and your admin Gmail address. Now, if you're a Google Apps user like we are, you can use your domain name if it's a Gmail associated Google App account, and you can upload your photo here, and this will be used for whatever any photo that you're using. If you're using a Webinar Jam landing page or registration page, okay? And then this person will be an active speaker and super admin, and then you can add basically as many webinar admins as you want. The limitation, of course, is Google Hangouts. So at this time, you can hang out with 10 people in the room. And you know what? Let's do this. If everybody wants to type in their email into the chat box, then what I'll do is we can all, if you have a Gmail account, then we can all get on the Hangout together, because even though I had asked that we have at least 10 people on the webinar just for the sake of time, to make it worthwhile since this is all totally free, I don't know that we have that many attendees. So if you want to type your email address in the chat box, then we can all live chat and we don't have to worry about a delay. So if you want to join me live, that would be actually even better. We got a question from John while we're going through this process of having people jump on. You can basically have this replay or rebroadcast a webinar. So, good question. The limitation is going to be on how fast that Google will actually record the Hangout on air, or actually YouTube, I should say. So, it's almost instantly. John, I got your email, but if you want to join the Hangout, I'm going to need your Gmail address if you have a Gmail. If you don't have a Gmail address, then I wouldn't be able to invite you on the Hangout because it's a Google Plus feature. But to answer your question, John, it's almost instant. It's basically within about maybe 10 to 30 minutes, again, depending on your bandwidth connection, things like that. So it's very, very, very fast, and the replay will actually get inserted into the Webinar Jam replay. So it's a great, great feature. And you can customize that, and we're going to hit that. So I'm going to go ahead and move on, and then as I see people type in any Gmail addresses, I'll just try to come back and check on that and edit that. So we'll come back to that. So we can come in here and we'll just go ahead and remove the presenters. And here's the cool thing, right? Once we're done, and let's just type this in here. Just for the sake of saving this. And we'll save the module. And now we know that's updated. Now if you have any questions about anything, each one of these tabs over here up in the upper right hand corner has a video to walk you through this step. So very simple to implement and to use as you go. So once you go through the next one module, you just go through the next one. So here's the various webinar registration pages that they have. So obviously if you're a Leadpages user, you probably aren't going to be using this a whole lot, but if for some reason you want to use different templates, they've got that here. And the good news is the entire ecosystem of the Webinar Jam platform has been recently, in the last actually week, mobile optimized. So anybody can hop on this event on any device that they want, from a smartphone to a desktop to a television set. You can actually go ahead and even load a template if you want to upload your own template. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this here. But basically, this is if you're going to use their system to add and require a name and an email address for people who are registering for your events. And then you can require a one-step registration, which means that the fields will show, and they can just type in their name and email address on a landing page that will show. So let's just use this as an example. And this is one that I tend to use. I used before I was a Leadpages customer. And we'll go ahead and require that. And we'll do a two-step registration. We're going to save the module. And now we're going to jump on a preview so you can see what it looks like, which is super cool, right? It's like instant gratification. So obviously, I didn't add any content to this, so it's pretty much blank. But you can see, as for an example, this is the two-step opt-in process, right? Click the link, just like the Leadpages, and it hovers over the page. And if I come here and do a one-step registration and resave it and preview it, now the fields show up and people can just go ahead and opt right into the event. And again, if you're running multiple events, it automatically will give you the opportunity to register for this particular event, which is a really nice feature. So like on Leadpages, to my knowledge, I don't know at this point in time if there's a way that you can have two webinar events like this on a registration page. So it's a good fallback to have in Webinar Jam in case you have multiple events that you're trying to drive traffic to or attendees to. So that makes it for a great fallback feature on Leadpages. So I'm going to come back here, and just seeing me, I can't, oh, crap. I forgot to be sharing my damn screen. So I'm sorry, guys. Let's go back. My apologies on that. And let's get, stop sharing that for a second. And Brian, can you type in your So there is a couple minor things that I'll just clarify right now that I don't like about Webinar Jam. I mean, nothing's perfect. For example, if I detach this sidebar and reattach it, the one thing that I don't like, it wipes out the chat box. So I just made that mistake. So for those of you that have typed in your Gmail addresses, can you please type those in again? And I will go ahead and invite you to the event. So I'm just going to hang out here for a second while we do that. And then that way, so my recommendation is if you're going to run an event, it's very beneficial to either have multiple monitors and be able to have a second screen so that you can post the live chat and drag the live chat box into another screen. You could do it on a tablet. I didn't actually get the time to set that up today. And now, yes, Brian, you should be able to see me. And Brian, please send your email again. Yes, everybody should see me right now. And I'm going to go back and start sharing my screen in a little bit. Thank you, John. And let me go grab. And this will make for a little bit better experience. And we'll give you guys, so for you guys, I just sent over the invitation for you for Ivan and John for you guys to join the live hangout. So hopefully you can join me here live. And while we're doing that, I'll go back to screen sharing here. And we'll jump back over here to the registration page. So like I was showing you before, case of for my mistake. So anyway, here's the registration templates that you can use. Whole bunch of them, and you can even upload a template if you want. For me, I just prefer to use something, save some time. And then if I save the module, you can choose to have name and email address as a part of it by default, and the phone number is optional. And then if we hit the preview button, we get instant gratification like I was referencing before. And because I didn't fill out any of the content or any of the information, it's not showing anything here because I didn't fill it out. But this is where you can have a drop down to pick from 2 different sessions that you might be driving traffic and attendees to register for. So it's a good fallback to lead pages like I referenced earlier. And then a 2-step registration. We're going to save that module. And now we can preview it. And now we get the single button and a nice kind of lead pages effect pop over with the same information to be able to register for the events. So let's go back over here real fast. Stop screen sharing for a second. And there's Brian's email. So Brian, I'm going to invite you to hang out on the event. And you guys can check your email. Hopefully jump on here live, even though we are live. I guess real time. All right, guys, so let's go back to the demonstration page here. And let's X out of that. And X out of that. All right. So once we're done with the configuration, we just come here. And again, like I was referencing earlier, every page has its own video help button. So you get a nice little pop-up video, and that person goes through and actually explains the page, right? And while I'm doing this, let's show you another cool feature. let's run our first poll, and let's see if you are an existing Webinar Jam customer or not. And we'll make the results public at the end of the poll, and we're going to start the poll. And hopefully you should see in the sidebar of the presentation, you should see a little pop down with polls and asking if you're an existing Webinar Jam customer or not. So if you could actually type in there and whether you are or not, that'd be great. And we'll go back to screen sharing. All right, so the next step in the process is you can choose to have your events be for free like we did today, or you can actually charge to register for the event. So basically you set up a price point and you can enter in your authorized.net checkout URL or whatever landing page or commerce shopping cart that you use, PayPal, anything you want to do for your checkout page here. And if you're going to set people up to pay, then you're going to want to make sure they register for this particular event. So this establishes a registration page for you. And then once they've successfully paid, this is where they're going to be going after that. So I personally haven't set up any webinars where I've charged people to attend. Haven't had a reason to yet, but basically you have the post-payment page URL to let your customers know that they successfully paid for the event and they're able to move forward and attend the event. So again, if you have any questions, reference the help button. Notifications, right? So hopefully you guys all got the notifications that were automatically sent out. And if you do collect mobile phone numbers in your registration form, you can do that as well. And so basically is a system where you can use their built-in email system, and it's a really good system. Or if you're going to use your own system, you can use an SMTP email server, and you can use that, which is what I've used, and it's worked out really, really well. And rather than showing you how this all works, I'm going to actually show you how we have today's webinar set up for the notifications. So integrations, all right? So here's some really cool stuff, right? This is kind of like some of the rockstar stuff that you aren't going to be able to use with GoToWebinar. So here's where you can add registration, add registration users to your list. So if you want here, you can go ahead and incorporate all of these different popular autoresponders. And so basically it's just pretty much simple. You go grab your HTML code and you pop it in there. Okay. Hopefully you guys don't know that. Now here's some exciting news, guys, because you probably are going to see this and get excited about it. Is that we have an API. Finally, Webinar Jam has got an API set up. So I'm hoping that some of the stuff I'm going to show you with the Lead Pages integration ends up being archaic because eventually you'll be able to go ahead and integrate this with Lead Pages. So I imagine that with this new API, I know that Lead Pages has got a lot of requests to integrate with Webinar Jam in addition to GoToWebinar. So I suspect that's going to be happening here very, very soon. But I have a present for you for those of you that are sticking around to get actual code where you can integrate Lead Pages with Webinar Jam. And you actually saw it happen when you registered for the webinar. You registered on a Lead Pages webinar event page and then got automatically registered for the Webinar Jam event into the system without having to register twice. So are you guys not able to? Awesome. So 2/3 of you guys are already Webinar Jam members, and 1/3 of you are not yet. So very cool. So nothing has arrived yet, and for what purpose again? So I'm sending you guys an email invitation to actually join me on this Hangout session. So if you should hopefully get an invitation, I don't know why you wouldn't. We're sending it from Gmail's platform right into your guys' system. So basically it's an invitation for you guys to actually join me on the Hangout where you'll have your thumbnail and opportunity to actually interact with me live as opposed to having to deal with any kind of time delay. So hopefully you're going to get that email here. I'm not sure why you wouldn't have, but who knows. So for the sake of time and brevity, I'll just keep moving forward. And my apologies for any inconvenience in advance. So the thank you page is, let's go back to here. Okay, so you can integrate with Google Analytics, right? So if you are familiar with Google Analytics, I'm not going to go and do a full demo on this part of it, but if you're wanting to get a feel for how many people are visiting and are attending your event because of your Google Analytics code, you can do that. And you can also help to track conversions and goals and some pretty cool stuff. If you want to enable retargeting on your events, you know, through like Perfect Audience, you can come in here and add a tracking pixel for your registration, thank you, and live webinar event pages. So that way you can actually retarget people who've attended your event and maybe they bought a product, right? So if they attended your live event, maybe you want to retarget those people because perhaps they didn't buy. So tons of options with retargeting, and that's where you would add that code. And then you can also integrate with conversion tracking and retargeting tracking on Facebook as well. Thank you page is pretty cool. You can display a custom video if you want, and you can display a text message, and I'll show you that. And the countdown page, this is where you have your event. I'll just leave this blank. And you can see what this looks like before the next event's coming up. So again, it's not going to be totally populated with information because obviously we didn't fill all the information out. But that's probably what you guys saw today before the event. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually jump into the list of webinars here. And I'm going to go into the integrations here for what we had done. And so you can see here we had added a YouTube video link, and you can add like a nice, you know, hey, we're going to get started. You can do a YouTube playlist. Obviously, you could see some of the things that we had on there because we're live. I can't get this to show up now. All right, so pre-configured polls, right? So this is what I set up prior to the event, asking if you guys are existing Webinar Jam customers. So it makes it super easy here to come in on the fly. And no invite yet for John either. So hopefully, I'm not sure why you guys aren't getting those invitations. But you can see here that I've created a poll. I pre-registered to be able to create a poll ahead of time. And so let's go ahead and ask the next poll question that I pre-set up. And we're going to go ahead and start this poll now. And are you enjoying the webinar event so far? I'm not expecting a whole lot of McLovinits. So these are pre-configured poll questions that I had set up ahead of time, so you can implement responses quickly and have polls done at a fast rate. So if you guys want to participate in the poll, that would be great. And I'm going to go back and start sharing on the screen share. And let's see if I can quickly invite some more of you here and get this set up again. One of the things I've asked the developers to do is to see if there's a way that you could actually add people from the chat bar right into the chat without having to go through this invitation process. I'm pretty sure it can be done, and hopefully they're working on that. So I'm going to try to re-invite you all back on to join me on the session itself. Because I think it'd make it a lot more fun. All right, so let's jump back in here. All right, so you can create as many preconceived polls as you want, and you can actually create polls on the fly. So right here you can see that. You'll be able to pop them up on the fly, and you can actually create brand new polls on the webinar itself, right? And then you can have offers, and this is something that I really, really, really like about Webinar Jam. You know, GoToWebinar, if you want to promote a page, there's not a lot of stuff you can do other than typing a hyperlink into the chat box, right? So what I'll go ahead and do is let's go ahead and do our first pop-in, right? So for attending today, right, and this is something maybe you guys have already gotten, and if so, I apologize, but I know that on one of the Lead Pages enterprise sessions that Zach was saying, hey, somebody should create a Google document for webinar tracking. So I'm going to give you a copy of it for free. So I'm going to display this pop-in offer. And it looks like my image is broken, so I apologize for that. So no big deal, image is broken. But if you click on that, you can go ahead and it's, again, just another registration box, and it'll automatically deliver you a link to be able to make a copy of your own webinar tracking funnel. And we're going to have the poll ended here. Hey, thank you. So one of you guys is really saying this sucks, and I apologize. Can't make everybody happy, and that's all right. But I appreciate the positive feedback from those of you that are enjoying it. So hopefully, though, if you said, hey, this sucks, hopefully the free gift of the webinar tracking funnel, I spent a few hours on making sure that worked really, really well, and sharing it with you guys. And gals, if you're here, still here on the call. All right. So you can add pre-configured offers, right? And you can create as many of these as you want. Next part on the replay, right? You can actually replay the recorded session, right? So that's what this is set up. So when we're done, we can actually do a replay. Or if you want, you can actually put a different video or an edited video of whatever you want as a replay video, right? Or if you want to redirect to a URL of your choice, you can do that. So total flexibility on doing this. And then I chose to have an expiration of the replay after 24 hours of the webinar. And then here's something that's super cool, right? So when the system records and uploads the webinar onto YouTube, do you want it publicly available or do you want to keep it private, right? So for this, I'm going to make this public or this private. I don't actually want people to see this unless they actually register for it. And then here's something that's cool is on the replay page, you can actually create a email chat box where people can submit questions on the replay. And then here's a great part, right? You can actually have a pop-in offer appear at a pre-described time so that after 3 minutes in this instance, the offer will show up on the replay page. And again, social media sharing, right? So trying to get through this as fast as you can. If you're an affiliate, I'll show you guys how you can become an affiliate today if you're interested in that, if you're not already. But this is where you put your affiliate link. And then when you're ready to publish the webinar, you just simply come down here and publish the webinar. And whenever you're ready to send out admin links to your fellow friends who are going to help host your event, this is where you would send those links. All right, analytics. We'll look at a demo video that we did last week. Got some people to join for an event last week just to be able to have some numbers to show you guys just for the sake of displaying information. And so we had 10 people register for the event. We had 4 people attend. If we had charges for the event, we could have been able to determine what our registration fees are. And there's a really cool feature in here that I really like about Webinar Jam, in case you didn't know, is it has a conversion pixel. So you can actually embed a conversion pixel into a thank you page. So if you're let's say I was selling a product, right? I was actually thinking of selling the lead pages code that I'm going to show you guys next. But I thought, you know what, I'll be cool and I'll just donate it, give it for free. So I was actually thinking of using it as a bonus in case you bought Webinar Jam through our affiliate link. But I was like, you know what, I'll be cool and just give everybody it for free. So if you're not a Webinar Jam user and you end up buying it, hopefully you'll buy it through my link. If not, whatever. Hopefully I can just help you guys and girls with your lead pages endeavors, right? So it shows your registration rate versus visitors. Now, obviously, this is going to be skewed because I'm registered everyone for this event through a lead page. So I'm going to get 100% registration rates, right? So if I want to get a better feel for my sign-up rate, I got to reference my lead pages statistics. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And now I can actually see that here we had 23 people who visited the landing page. Of those, 9 attended. I probably did one myself, which would make the 10th one. And so that gives me a better sign-in rate, a better accurate sign-in rate. And then here's what's cool, right? So my show-up rate. So I know that who attended this event. And a really cool thing is that it even tells me here from this particular event which of the 4 people actually attended the webinar, and it'll tell me if anybody watched the webinar replay, and if I set up the conversion tracking for a product ordering, it'll tell me if the product was ordered and the amount. Right, so super cool features, right? So if you're not a Webinar Jam customer, or even if you are and you're not using this, then you're definitely going to want to be able to have this if you're selling anything online via webinars, because you're just not going to get that from GoToWebinar, right? And so basically you can download that full list, which was an example of what I was showing you, and now you get a better feel for here of all your sales numbers, right? So it'll tell me total sales in units, total revenue, sales conversion, earnings per click, earnings per attendee. So this is all set up as for a sales webinar system that you just cannot get in GoToWebinar. So I'm going to come back and we're going to hit this lead pages integration here in just a quick minute, because some of you don't even know what Webinar Jam is. And the link doesn't work for the pop-in. The link worked for Ivan, and he's looking at the document. So, John, try clicking the link again.
Yeah, we're not done with this. Okay.
So Ivan asks, how will the tracking tell you the amount of the sale? So does this link up with a parameter that you give to each thank you page, or is there some other tweak? Yes, so great question. So let's go back into the system real quick and I'll show you. So if we come into My Webinars, and again, remember I was saying if you wanted to replay, so let's say I set up another session here for another Webinar Jam demo, I can just go ahead and clone this event, and it'll just redo it, and I can just go in and change the dates and the times, and we'd be good to go. So if I come in here and I click the links, right, if I wanted to embed this on my website and I wanted to make this as being outside the Webinar Jam system and wanted to promote this on my page, then I could embed this code, and this event would actually show up on any page that I embed this code, okay? So going back to your question about the tracking and the amount, so here is the sales tracking code, and if you come here, and again there's video help links for this in the future, but you can come in here and you can add parameters in here by saying the product and the price. And you don't want any parameters, you just want the numbers, right? So if you were selling it for $297, then you should put that in there, and you should have this all kind of one word, if I remember the tutorial correctly. So this is the landing page URL for the webinar that we're currently on, right? Again, we use lead pages, which we are, I promise, going to get to that here in a minute. And then this is where I would log in as an admin. And then this is a way that you can give people kind of like access behind the doors, kind of like a backstage pass. But this circumvents all analytics. So if you use this, all tracking won't work, okay? And then here is the advanced custom registration hot link, which is where I'm going to show you how to auto-register here in lead pages in a minute. So to answer your question, this is where you would go and you would paste this here on your thank you page to be able to have a conversion pixel fire, and it will tell the system of Webinar Jam that this is the amount and the product. So if you're selling like 5 products on a webinar, and you really want detailed analytics, you're going to want to set up 5 separate thank you pages with 5 separate codes with the 5 separate products and prices. All right, so John, I will make sure to get you, and let me go ahead and just grab this right now, and I'll just give you a direct link. So let's go to my webinars. Oh, you know what? I know where it's at. It's right here. And I will drop this there. So if you want to go register for that with a direct link, then you can do that, John. So apologize for any inconvenience. And let's go ahead and we'll do, we'll just drop that one and display this offer. All right, so let's go back into lead pages. Okay, so let's get into the technical stuff now, guys and girls. So I'm going to show you how to integrate lead pages so it will work with Webinar Jam. And so when people register on lead pages, they will be auto-registered for Webinar Jam. So here's probably what some of you guys have just been waiting for this whole time. But again, I wanted to make sure to give people that are not familiar with Webinar Jam an opportunity to be able to check it out. So appreciate your patience. And so here's what we've got, and I'm going to give you guys this file. So basically, this is a file that we put on our server, right? So I'm hoping that you guys all have your own websites here if you're selling stuff online. And basically, if I go into this file manager, we have a file specifically set up for a webinar in Webinar Jam. And let me make sure that I am sharing my screen. And here you can see that we have this file here, right? So we have a folder specifically for Webinar Jam events. And then with a little PHP magic, we're able to basically copy these files. So if I want, so you're going to need a separate file for each webinar registration page that you're going to run, okay? Because each Webinar Jam session is going to have its own unique number identifier. So I'm going to go ahead and view this code here for a quick minute. And what it is, it's a little line of PHP code, and it's saying pull in this number from the URL in the address bar and insert it into here, right? So this is concatenated. It's just a fancy way of saying kind of integrating this into one long link. And so I'm going to make sure that you guys get this code so that you're able to use it. Now, I want to make sure you guys are aware that these fields here are customized for my autoresponder service, okay? So because I'm an Infusionsoft user, then I have these custom fields. You are going to have to customize this for your own autoresponder with your own fields, okay? With your own merge fields. And so I actually spent a little bit of time trying to research this for you to try to make it super easy for you. And I've got in the download link where I'm going to give you access to this line of code or this file system. I'm also going to be giving you some links to resources for GetResponse, Aweber, and MailChimp. So let me ask you, since we have such a small hangout, let me know which autoresponder that you're using. Are you using GetResponse? Maybe you're using Ontraport, and maybe you're another Infusionsoft user. Let me know in the chat box. All right, so while I wait for you guys to answer that, I'll come back and keep going. So let me show you how we have this set up, okay, so you can get a feel for what you need to do. So in here is our Infusionsoft campaign, okay, and this is just basically a sign-up form. So I'm going to come in here into Infusionsoft, and this is my sign-up form. So just pretend this is Aweber for you, for your sign-up form, or your Aweber, whatever, GetResponse. So important things to know, okay? So this is the fields that I'm integrating with Leadpages, okay? So on the event, I asked for first name and email for this event and made mobile an optional number, okay? And so on my thank you page, okay, so this is important, right? So this is the URL here, okay, of the file that I put on my website. So you're going to take this code, this file that I'm going to give you guys access to here in just a minute. You're going to take that file, you're going to take that and install it onto wherever you're going to put it, right, on whatever website you're going to use, right? And so that's going to create a full URL here. Right, so here's the Webinar Jam folder, and I open it up, and that's the actual file inside, and that creates a full line URL. And I'm going to embed that into my thank you page. So when people register for Leadpages, right, when they go to register for Leadpages, I'm going to not use the Leadpages system for the thank you page if I want to register them into Webinar Jam. So when they register into Leadpages, they're going to come to this thank you page. And this thank you page is this set of code that I'm going to give you. And then once this goes to this thank you page, it gets forwarded into the Webinar Jam system, and it enrolls that person's and transfers their files and their name and their email address into the Webinar Jam system, and it runs them right through the thank you page. Okay? So I hope that makes sense, guys. And I'm going to pause for a minute to take some questions if you have any. All right, so Leanne is using Infusionsoft and Ontraport, so good for you. So Leanne, there's, you know, Infusionsoft is an easy thing to do. It's very important too. One other thing that I forgot to, I want to make sure to emphasize is that you must make sure to pass your contacts information to the thank you page. So if you don't pass along the name and the email address, can't be entered into the Webinar Jam ecosystem, and so you're not going to be able to do that. Okay. Again, I'm hoping Leadpages will integrate now that Webinar Jam has an API. But until that happens, this is kind of the PHP workaround, kind of secret trick. And it's kind of funny because I didn't think it up. I actually found someone else who did it, and basically got my developer on the case and basically reverse engineered what we did and figured it out for ourselves. So let me see if I can find that file real quick. And so again, we have this set up to hopefully you have resources to be able to go ahead and do the same thing inside your own autoresponder service. So let me know if you guys have any questions. So Ivan is using Instant Customer. I'm not familiar with Instant Customer. Brian, it didn't take me very long to actually figure it out. It's basically just uploading a file to my server and then just basically setting up the lead page. So if I'm on my lead page and I come in here and create a new page, let's say, and I'm just going to pick a webinar page. And we'll just go ahead and use this template. So yeah, it is a little bit technical, but it shouldn't be hopefully if I'm explaining this right. So if I come into my opt-in form integration and I add somebody to my campaign, so I'm obviously connected on my API, right? But if you're connecting to lead pages using whatever autoresponder service that you're using, you're going to put in that HTML code, right? And so inside your autoresponder service, so let's see, I have a GetResponse account as well, which we hardly ever use. But we recommend it for our clients as a low-cost way. So if I create a web form, a new web form, and I come here to the design, I don't really care about all this stuff right now, so we're just going to go to the next step. And there's the web form name, confirmed opt-in, don't care. Make your thank you. So custom thank you page, right? So this is where you're going to put, if you're a GetResponse user, this is where you're going to put this link, right? So you've got this file that I'm going to give you guys. You're going to be able to upload it, and if you guys want to reach out to me after the fact, or you guys want to like pay me a few bucks or something like $5-10, and I can pay my developer to add this for you guys, we're happy to do that for you. Whatever, we're here to help you guys. But basically, you upload this file to your server, and you're going to want to have this URL put into this area here, right? So once you've done that, then you should be able to show advanced, and there you go. If you want to forward their contact data, you can forward their contact data, right? So again, I'm not a super duper GetResponse user, but they offer now 24/7 live support. So if you're a GetResponse user, there's Lindsay. Thanks. I figured it out. And that's pretty damn fast on chat, by the way. So basically, that's a way that you can integrate it. So I want to try to revisit this again and try to make this as simple as possible, right? So you're going to upload this line of code, or this file, to your server. And whenever you create a new webinar on lead pages, you're going to create a new continue page. You come into Webinar GM, and you come in, and you get these links in here, and you're going to just grab this little line of code right here. Right? So if I grab that code, of course I'm not screen sharing. So my bad, guys. I'm a total butthead. GetResponse, Ivan asks why we use GetResponse over, let's say, MailChimp. It's just a preference. MailChimp's a pretty good service. I just, for some reason, like the user interface of GetResponse better. And there's an actual feature that get response offers that MailChimp doesn't. It works especially well with mobile. So let's just make sure that I'm sharing again. So we're going back, and I apologize. It's kind of a crappy webinar today, guys. I'd give myself today, it sucks. But that being said, let's move forward. So if I come here to my Webinar Jam account, I've created my registration link in Webinar Jam. I'm going to come here, I'm going to copy and paste this identifier. This is a unique way to know, for Webinar Jam to know this webinar is associated with this event. So I'm going to copy that code, and I'm going to come in here to this file, and if I'm editing the file, I'm going to paste it right in here. In this little line of code says put this little number right in here into this system, into this line of code. So when the person goes and registers on lead pages, they get added to this campaign, they're going to go to this thank you page that I created and passed along the contact information. And then this is going to tell Webinar Jam, here's this person's information. So that's how it integrates. And I'm sorry for the complexity of it. Again, hoping lead pages will make it super easy on all of us to do this. But if you're looking for a simple and easy way to do this, it works perfectly. You guys are all here because you were, a product of that. So let me come back and see if we have any questions. Yes, Ivan, I was supposed to be screen sharing, and that's why I went ahead and went back and kind of redid that section. So there is one other thing that I want to share with you guys, if you guys are still around, and that is how you can identify where your contacts are coming from. So if you're trying to promote a webinar, maybe you're buying traffic, but we actually can show you a way inside of lead pages. So if you integrate here, and let's just use, this is fine. Actually, you know what? Let's do a different campaign. Okay. So if so here I am in lead pages. Let me make sure I'm screen sharing so that I'm not making a buffoon of myself again. And here I am in my lead pages account. If you're trying to track where your registrants for webinars are coming from, so maybe you posted a blog post on your website. Maybe you posted something on Facebook like we did for this event. Maybe you're using pay-per-click to drive traffic to a webinar registration page. Isn't it going to be helpful to know where you're getting the best ROI and where your webinar attendees are coming from? So there's a system called URL Builder that Google uses, and you can use it for analytics, but you don't have to make it work for your contact management system. And if you just type in URL Builder, then you'll come to this page. And basically, this gives you a form to build out where you can put your lead page's landing page. So this is where you put your registration page here. And then this is where you'd say your source was from. So let's say you did a post on Facebook, right? And on that Facebook page, you did a post. And you're going to want to identify the campaign name. So this is whatever this is your identifier for your campaign. So for example, for this event, it would be Webinar Jam, right? I'm trying to identify people that I promoted to this event that has to relate to my campaign at Webinar Jam. And so if I add this code, and let's go grab this lead pages URL. Let's just do this. And I hit submit. Then down here you can see this link, right? And so what this does is it appends this information here into the URL. So if I send out this link and somebody clicks on this link, they're going to have this URL show up in their address bar, and that information can be added to the page that you're on. Okay? So I've done that for lead pages here as an example. And I can show these advanced options, and you can see in here that even though there's only 3 fields here, these fields are all hidden. So if anybody lands on a registration page that I have, I can tell which campaign it's for, if they came from Facebook or Google or LinkedIn or a blog post or paid traffic, and I could tell if it was a link or a banner ad. And if I was wanting to be able to differentiate banner ads, we could do that. So it's a great way to have one landing page and get a feel for where you should spend money on in getting registrants for your webinars. So not every system is going to have this. Again, in the file I'm going to give you guys, let me go ahead and share that with you guys right now in case you guys need to jump off. All right, and hopefully that'll go seamlessly where you guys can go download this code. And for all of those that did attend, then I'll make sure you guys get it here in the future as well. So I'm going to go ahead, and if you guys have any other questions, I'm going to wrap this up. Again, I apologize for the hiccups. Hopefully you totally appreciate the time I invested today to share this with you guys. And if you guys want to reach out to me with any questions that you guys have, that would be great. So I'll stick around here for a minute to answer any questions that you have, and then we'll call it a day. Awesome, Ivan. Thanks for the feedback. Hey, Leanne, thank you very much for the feedback. I definitely appreciate it. And again, if you guys need any help, let me go ahead and post this in the chat box. If any of you guys need to get a hold of me, obviously you can just message me on the Facebook page. But if for any reason you guys need to contact us directly, this is our support ticketing system. It's usually for customers, but I'll give you guys that benefit. So if you need any help, let me know. And again, I appreciate the positive feedback. And I hope you guys all have a kick-ass day. And let's all go make lots of money with webinars, Webinar Jam, and lead pages. Oh, one other cool thing about Webinar Jam, and we'll finish with this. Is that you can redirect everybody at the end of an event, which is really super cool. So let's finish with that, and hopefully that works. And hopefully that will open up in a new tab for you. And I'm going to go ahead and finish the event. So thank you guys very much for the event, and you guys appreciate y'all, and have a great day.